Hi, welcome to the garden again. And today the garden's looking up. We're going to the stars. We're going to be talking with Adam about this is the 26th of May. And what we're going to be talking about is the new moon, which is a really important new moon because it's closing up a lot of cycles and opening it up. And it's kind of like, let it go now, baby, because we ain't no way around it. We're going to talk about the aspects that lead to that. We're going to talk about some other fun things. And we're going to kind of wrap up at looking at the international situation in Ukraine. He's got some transits for Ukraine. We always hear about the Sibley chart and America's chart, but he's going to talk about what's going on over there. So with that, I turn it over to Adam, and we're going to do this like a dialogue. I'm going to ask him questions when he says something where I go, what? So Adam.
All right, Nancy, thanks so much for having me on your show. It is quite an honor. So I am Adam from Adam Stargazing Astrology. And if you have not yet, please check out my YouTube channel. I offer astrology readings of all types. I offer tarot as well. So yeah, let's get started here.
Mm-hmm.
So there are some really strong aspects that characterize this new moon in Gemini that will be happening on Memorial Day of this year.
Mm-hmm.
So the new moon happens when the sun sign and the moon sign are in the same astrological sign. Or another word for them being in the same astrological sign would also be called conjunct. So if you guys hear that word conjunct out there, then you know what that means. So it's falling in the sign Gemini, and Gemini is an air quality, and the mode is mutable. So when we get air and when we get mutable, we think of a character like Peter Pan.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why I say Peter Pan is because these Gemini energies are movable, and they're light, and they're flexible, and they're adaptable. So what we are seeing here with this new moon is we are seeing the ability during this new moon time to be able to bend and flex and be a little more adaptable than we were when there was that eclipse a couple weeks ago when everything was in Taurus.
Mm-hmm.
So that being said, this is a great time for short trips, a great time to reconnect with siblings. Gemini rules brothers and sisters. It rules communications. And it's a wonderful time to, perhaps start some sort of creative project, maybe something like creative writing. The reason why I say writing is because Gemini rules the planet Mercury, and Mercury is all about communications and the mentality. And with Gemini, we get a strong interest in writing.
Mm-hmm. Good. Okay. There's some other aspects that are going on right now other than the sun and the moon being conjunct. We have, I forget what you call it, but when a lot of planets are in the last few degrees of a sign.
So when planets are in the last few degrees of a sign, it's called an anaretic placement or anaretic degrees. And the last few degrees of a sign, it sums up, it's like a summation and a wrapping up of all of the energy of that sign. So depending upon what that sign is, and depending upon what planet it's going through and what astrological sign, that really has a lot to do with the type of energy that's coming up. And so with these anaretic degree placements, we have the planet Pluto. And Pluto represents power. And Pluto is in the astrological sign of Capricorn. So this is power with structures, power with corporations. So what we are seeing now is I almost want to say disgusting use of power with corporations. It's starting to spill over. It's like the guts of these corporations are starting to spill over, and it's becoming very apparent that these people are for profit.
Mm-hmm.
And because power also really ties into politics, we're seeing, we're seeing this, with the shooting that just happened yesterday. These lobbyists are, supporting the Republicans, right? And then the Republicans aren't putting any gun laws, so innocent people are getting killed. It's unfortunately power equals money equals power equals corporations equals structures equals hierarchy. And we are seeing the spilling over of this. This is going to be going on until 2024 when Pluto enters Aquarius. The energetic dynamic and vibrational dynamic around power structures will be shifting. And the humanitarian ideals and ideas will be much more intact. We will see different gun laws, different uses of fuel, and our Aquarian ideals for a clean planet and for humanity on an equal footing will have a much stronger placement when Pluto goes in Aquarius in 2024.
I don't know. People that aren't used to what the astrologic signs look like. Pluto actually looks like a P with an L on the bottom. And when I learned astrology, they said it's like a plow and it just plows through the sign and it digs up everything that's under the surface and pushes it out in ways you can't ignore it. And that also means it digs under the surface and pushes out the good things that can be a part of a sign. So
it's strong. Pluto's strongly linked to the astrological sign of Scorpio. And with Scorpio, we get extraction, digging up the surface and extracting.
Right.
So,
okay.
Yeah, those are the strong Plutonian qualities.
Yeah, and so that's been going on. And then also in the last week or so before this, since we're doing this on 26th, there was a period of time when Jupiter and Mars were both in Pisces and about to go into Aries. And that meant they were in the last 3 degrees, which we've already discussed is a really important place because it kind of squishes everything together and says, move it now or lose it. And the other thing that happens at that point, and this is for all our charts, everybody's involved in this. The first sign in the charts in astrology is Aries, and the last is Pisces. So when it's moving from the last into Aries, it's at the last few degrees of the last sign of all the crap that's been going on for the last year, and it's pushing it, and it or whatever time frame it's taken for it to go around the chart. So this is sort of like the New Year's Eve for Mars and Jupiter, and they're sort of making their New Year's resolutions, and a lot of stuff's getting cleaned out of the way. That's another thing that happens.
Yeah. So the reason why this is a big deal for Mars and Jupiter is because Aries, as you mentioned, it's the first sign of the zodiac. So it represents a whole new moral philosophy as represented by Jupiter. And it also represents a whole new way of directing our energy as represented by Mars. The energy with Aries can be explosive. It can be dangerous. It can be hot. There's not a lot of tempering energy that's going on. There can be impulsive behaviors around this, as we've seen in the public limelight recently. There can be heated debates and heated arguments. There can be opponents. There can be war. There can be a lot of lashing out. So right now is really a time to sort of cool the jets and kind of sit back a little bit. Try to revert more to that Neptune and Pisces energy now that's going on, and try to see things from the bigger picture, rather than diving in head first as represented by that Jupiter and Mars Aries conjunction and getting yourself hurt and banging your head.
I always think Mars and Aries is a little like 2-year-olds. They don't know no. They want to only hear yes. And if you try to tell them no, you're not getting a candy bar off of that shelf in the grocery store. We've all heard that scenario if you've ever been in a grocery store and a kid does that. I really don't like that kind of energy. So my kids, if they went into that tirade, I'd just take the cart to the front of the store and tell the people, I'm not going to inflict this on you. I'm sorry, pack those groceries back. I'll come back and get them another time. And kids only do it once. So when you can start to understand Mars is an Aries and there's a lot of the universe is going to try to engage me in this anger, just don't play with the toddler. Walk away.
Yep. That first sign of the zodiac is really, it's wonderful for spontaneity and action and adventure and excitement. But yeah, as soon as that energy starts going negative, it can be explosive and just volatile and very dangerous.
Yes, as anyone who's ever dated an Aries knows.
And what else is really interesting too is that there's a fixed star in the sky called Aldebaran. And Aldebaran lies approximately in the constellation Taurus and Gemini area. And that star is being very activated by this new moon. And the energy of that star can bring war and violence and militarism. So that's also something to watch out for in relation to that Mars-Jupiter conjunction. And again, folks, the reason why this Mars-Jupiter conjunction is kind of a big deal is because any planet that is sitting right next to Jupiter, it expands it. Jupiter is all about expansion. So this Mars energy during this new moon time is going to be almost like it's going to be overemphasized and expanded.
Yeah. Well, I know my teacher used to always say that Jupiter expands, but it's just a big bag of gas. You can't even stand. It doesn't even have any land. It's not really real. I mean, it's real because it's there. It's got material there that's hot as hazies, but it's, it's just a big bag of gas.
Yeah. It just blows everything up.
Right. Yep. It expands us out. So on this new moon, I think this is where I can kind of talk a little bit more. We always say to write out your intentions. And I always tell people, to think about their intentions. And I always think of the new moon as it's like dark soil. You can't see it. But any intention you plant in the new moon, and this is actually in the farmer's zodiac, the things you put in the ground during the new moon grow faster, grow better than things you put in different cycles. It's just, that's when the seed's ready to go hide and burst out, as the moon progresses. So you want to put down the ideas you want to have expand. And you want to be very careful how you word your ideas, because you never say, I don't ever want to date someone like that, like the last clown I dated, because I don't know what the perversion is in the universe, but it doesn't hear the word no, don't, can't, won't, anything that's not. It does not understand that. So what you need to do is you need to write out the sort of person you really want, because what the intentions list will see is all it reads is, I want the old clown I dated before. And so then people keep getting the same thing back and they're going, why I keep writing these lovely intentions, but you have to put them as positives, and you have to put them as positives for you. And this one's a great one because we've had so much to look at that's been negative, that trying, even if it's to bring love and light into your life. And don't limit it. Don't say, I want more, because, a cup is more than what you had before, but I want all that I can have. I always put, want all of that I can handle, because I've gotten overwhelmed at times. But, whatever it is that you want to make changes in your life, if you don't like living in California, which I had a lady ask me today at another thing, and she said, I don't want to live in California anymore. And so where should I go? No, you should put what would meet my ideals, and then come up with ideas of what you want to see, and let the universe bring those things to you. I mean, say, I just don't want to live in California. I'll live anywhere else, without any regard for putting sort of guardrails around yourself. So that's kind of my quickie thing on writing intentions lists.
Yeah. And, you bring up a great point with the writing intentions, because Mercury, which has its strong link with communications and writing,
Mhm,
it's still going to be in retrograde. And
mhm,
Mercury in retrograde is all about redefining and redoing, reorientating. So during this new moon Mercury retrograde period time, it's a great time to sit back and reflect
mhm,
on what didn't work,
mhm,
and plant new seeds as far as writing things down, to want, to have those desires and to desire things that do work
mhm,
for when Mercury goes into the direct position
mhm.
June 3rd.
Right, right.
And yeah, and then Mercury is still it's retrograde back into the astrological sign of Taurus.
Mhm,
So Taurus and Mercury in Taurus, it's all about persistence. It's all
mhm,
about being stable. It's all about being grounded,
mhm,
separating facts. We think of it as a very earthly quality. It's not like the Gemini energy. Gemini is very quick and like the little bee and would write down maybe some abstract ideas, but this is a real time to sit down with those ideas and really evaluate and really reevaluate where you want to be, what you want to do.
One thing you can do when Mercury's retrograde that I found is very successful, clean out your closet. Because
Mm-hmm.
you really will let the things go. This is a chance to reconsider them and say, no, I really don't need 16 purses because I never leave my house because I'm afraid there's diseases out there, whatever, you know, or, do I really need this many pairs of shoes and stuff? And it's a real good time to do that kind of realignment of your life and that kind of cleaning up.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, exactly. The energy of redefining, redoing, restructuring, reorganizing. Yeah, that is all excellent, excellent for this new moon period.
Mm-hmm. Although I went and got a new hairstyle and I've decided I really don't like it. So it was a stupid time to go get my hair cut. I mean, it's shaved, but it's
Oh,
cooler. It's cooler.
uh-huh, uh-huh. So,
I don't have to use as much purple.
oh, no, yeah, I mean, it looks great.
I know.
It's
But
it's it's hip.
yes. So I know everybody is sitting there and they're kind of looking at if they have a way to find a chart. Do you have any apps you suggest people use for doing it, looking at a chart? Just carry one with them.
Yeah, there's an app called Time Passages,
Okay.
which is really great. I would recommend that's the app that I use. I would recommend the Time Passages called, yeah.
Okay, good. Because
It was
people ask
actually
me,
Yeah, it was actually made by a fellow astrologer friend who lives in Santa Cruz.
oh, okay.
Where I live, yeah.
Oh, cool.
Hmm.
And universally, well, we've seen the horrors that have been going on around us, but I think they're shifting us to having a much better November than we thought we might have. But right now, and I know there's a lot of the planets that are lining back up to match on the Sibley chart, which is the Sibley chart was based on the day they signed the Declaration of Independence, right?
Yep, 1776.
And if people don't know much about this, those old guys that were founding our country were Freemasons. They were someone was very tied to astrology because there's some things that were put in that chart were done very deliberately, and they picked that day. And they were more aware of it because I know people think it's a Christian country founded on Christian principles. Only the people on the Mayflower. The vast majority of people who signed the Declaration of Independence were Unitarians. That's not a Christian. I mean, they appreciate Christ but it's not. So just letting you know. So there was some looking at the chart before they did it. And isn't that called electional astrology if someone tries
Hmm.
to pick a date? But yeah. So a little bit of that going on.
Very interesting. Yeah, and there was that. that Pluto in retrograde as well. And
Mm-hmm.
we had the Pluto return this year. So that
Mm-hmm.
happens when Pluto makes the full revelation or full rotation around the astrological chart and ends up in the same spot as it was
Mm-hmm.
during that 1776 period. So this really is a time for karmic cleansing
Mm-hmm.
as far as that Pluto in retrograde that I had mentioned before
Mm-hmm.
in the United States. Also, kind of being found upon the back of the Native Americans. There was
Mm-hmm.
a lot of overpowering and power abuse
Mm-hmm.
as represented by that Pluto in retrograde. And then there was also the Neptune in that 1776 chart was sitting in a very prominent spot as well, and it was sitting on the midheaven. So that was just really high, very idealistic, very very idealistic with the Aquarius moon.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about humanity, and then those the strong placements of Cancer, which
Mm-hmm.
are all about the homeland.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you'll hear people talk about that. It's really a real effect. And, think about it. How long does it take Pluto to go around the whole zodiac?
It takes Pluto up approximately like 240 to like
Yeah.
260.
So it's as if you only had a birthday once every 240 years. It's a big deal.
Yeah, this is a huge one. Yeah, this is really there's a lot of karma right now around power dynamics, and just it's very up in our face.
Mm-hmm.
It's loud and it's really just screaming at us
Mm-hmm.
for some real change.
Yes, and it's coming. So what do you see in the bigger world? What do you see going on around, say, Ukraine?
Yeah, so I have some transits for Ukraine.
Mm-hmm.
And for the audience, if you don't know what transits are, those are the planets that are transiting
Mm-hmm.
and are transitory in relation to Ukraine's natal chart. And Ukraine's natal chart was founded August 24th, 1991. And that was really all about when Ukraine broke away
Mm-hmm.
from Russia and founded its independence. The natal chart for Ukraine is really strongly characterized by a lot of planets in the first house. And planets in the first house are all about independence.
Mm-hmm.
That chart also has Pluto on the midheaven, and Pluto is sitting in Scorpio on the midheaven. So that is just heavy, intense Plutonian energy. With that, that there's going to be some looming chaos and looming disaster,
Mm-hmm.
with that Pluto on the midheaven. And that's what we're seeing right now.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, let me talk about some of these transits that are going on. So the North Node, which is the collective evolutionary direction, that's transiting through their 10th house, along with the Sun and Mercury. So the 10th house is all about the public sector, your position in the public eye.
Mm-hmm.
So this really indicates, at least for a while longer, they're really going to be strongly in the public eye. Their South Node is going through the 4th house. The South Node is all about the energy of release,
Mm-hmm.
the energy of the collective, of the energy of letting go. So that being said, it's in the 4th house, which is all about the roots and their foundations. So they're really confronting foundations that are no longer working.
Mm-hmm.
So this is kind of scary because in this world, as you know, we want to hold on and we want to grip, right?
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully we're evolved enough as individuals and as a society to be able to really let things go downstream that aren't working. So this is very much in Ukraine's face right now. They're quickly having to let go of foundations and ways of being that are no longer.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a really powerful time for transformation for them. It can be very scary as well. Their Mars is transiting through the 8th house. It's powerful, strong time, a big fighting spirit. The 8th house is all about death and rebirth and transformation. The 8th house is all about extraction. Mars is our energy. So what we're seeing here, with that death and rebirth, we're seeing physical death, and we're seeing the rebirth of just the new energy field that is coming into play here, that through that 8th house intensity. See here. So the planet Jupiter, which rules expansion and optimism, and Jupiter has a lot to do with our morals. It's in an opportunistic aspect to the planet Saturn, and Saturn is the lord of karma. There's no shortcuts with Saturn. So this is an opportunity for slow and steady progress through cautious expansion. So this is not a time to go to the extremes with anything. Jupiter represents gifts as well. So Ukraine continues to get gifts, but they're going to have to utilize those gifts as best as they can. Any wasting of those gifts will be to their detriment.
Right.
With this aspect. The planet Uranus, Uranus rules the lightning bolt. It rules new and unusual ideas. It rules thinking outside of the box. It's in harmonious aspect to their north node. And their north node, again, is that their collective evolutionary push, their collective evolutionary direction. So this gives them more progressive, daring, and innovative ideas for this time. It's the ability to be able to strategize and think outside of the box and have these type of ideas work for their benefit. And the reason why I say benefit is because it's in a trine aspect, which is an aspect that indicates harmony and ease.
Yeah, it's like in Tarot, it's like the 3. The energy flows evenly and accurately in the 3. In the 4, you have to stop and keep stopping and starting, hitting a corner and starting again. So yeah, it's where energy flows. It's also the strongest. It's also the strongest geometric form. It creates the best space. The number 3. Yeah, so I always think. So when you hear trines, think this is something good. Now, too many trines. Too many trines can spoil the broth. You have too many trines on your chart, you're never going to be motivated to do anything. I mean, you're just going to, it just all flows.
No, it's so true. I have 2 grand trines in my chart.
Now we know the truth about Adam.
But I also have a kite and a T-square and a yod. And
okay.
I got a bunch of stuff. But in the past, I've been known to ride on my grand trines for a little. And folks, a good thing to know about those grand trines is the grand trines don't necessarily really make you rich or successful. Grand trines aren't inheritance given upon you. Grand trines are the energy's more mellow and it's more relaxed and it's more flowing. So that's important to know. There's a big misconception around grand trines and thinking there's automatically going to be some amazing magical gifts there. There can be, but they need to be developed.
Well, what's going to happen to Ukraine's outcome? I mean, do you see this thing? I mean, are there signs there that are kind of like it's going to go easier, it's going to go better, it's going to go?
I'm seeing this not really happening anytime soon. Like, I don't see a resolution anytime soon. I know a resolution is coming, but a lot of these aspects, they indicate a lot of underlying karma that's still being played out and still being reconciled Again, this really relates to that Pluto in retrograde that's going on with the overspill of the power in relation to Putin, and how Putin is related to a lot of our dependence on oil, which is destroying the planet. So this is, if you look at this very globally and holistically and make those connections, this could possibly last, maybe another year, maybe another year and a half. I cannot see this going on for more than a couple years max. Definitely not 5 years. As mentioned, that Pluto in Aquarius will happen in 2024. I can almost guarantee that this will be done by then.
Yeah, what I see is a lot of when I view it and look at it, what I see is the length of the war is more the length of recovery, of getting back to some kind of normal. Because I just don't feel the armed conflict's going to go on past a certain point. I think it'll be a stalemate, but not like World War I, where they sat there and shot each other in trenches, because we have multimedia now and everybody can see it, and not everybody's going to go, that's really barbaric. Let's not do that.
Yeah, it's Putin, he's really playing out, he's a real key point here for a lot of intense transformation. And Putin has, guess what, Pluto in Leo sitting right on his midheaven, sitting next to his south node.
Wow.
And yeah, and for the audience, if you don't know what that means, the midheaven in the astrology chart, it stands for the position of power. His Pluto is in Leo, and it stands for the career. So this being said, Pluto equals power, Leo equals the ruler. He has Pluto and Leo on the midheaven, which is the position of power, sitting next to his south node, which stands for his karmic past. So this is the indication that this man is very used to being this type of autocrat, and that he's very good at it, and it comes very, very easy to him.
It's sort of like a past life thing.
Yep.
I've practiced on other people before.
Yeah. But Putin has some sorrowful aspects in his 12th house. Like, he has Saturn in the 12th house, which is all about self-undoing. What he's really doing is he's slowly pushing himself, or actually quickly now, pushing himself into this corner of isolation and frustration through his own self-undoing. So his chart, it's not a happy one. It's a very isolated chart. It's a very volatile chart. It's a very chart.
Well, okay, let's get rid of Pooty's chart. And what's sort of the next big thing after the new moon? What's the next big thing that's going to kind of hit us in the collective?
So there are a couple things. First of all, Mercury will be going direct June. Yay! And when it goes direct, it will quickly push into Gemini. So right now and during that new moon, the time to review travel plans. When it pushes direct, June 3rd and after, is the time to take those trips. And the time to go have fun with that Mars-Jupiter conjunction.
Right.
That conjunction is not going to last forever. Mars moves quicker than Jupiter, so we're going to seeing that separate once we get into June. The energy is going to simmer down a little. What we need to watch out for right now during this new moon is Venus squared Pluto. There can be power struggles with relationships right now. That's going to up a little. So I would say right now is a time to sit tight and to review and to make wise decisions around finances, grounded, wise decisions around finances. And then once we hit June, I would say, like, that's a great time for a trip or a staycation or anything to kind of cool off the jets coming
Mhm.
into.
Well, good. Well, Adam, I'm so happy to have had you here. I'm so happy to have discussed the new moon now, and I'm fascinated with fixed stars causing us even more problems. It's bad enough to learn all the planets and signs and houses and stuff. So if you don't really understand this for yourself, and you can get his little thing, time passages. I tell you, if you carry a little chart around, every once in a while, you'll hear astrologers say, "Oh, but if you have anything that's in the 26th degree," and then they'll go through rattle what's going to happen to people. Well, if you have a little chart in your phone, you can go see. And that's how you start to have this stuff make sense, because it's very abstract, I know, for a lot of people. And it's like when people will go, "Oh, the Eight of Swords," and all the people in Tarot go, "Oh." But if you don't know what the Eight of Swords is, the Eight of Swords also, you realize that woman could walk out of those swords anytime she wanted to. So she put them all there around herself. So yeah, there's more to learn about all this, and it just makes your life richer. That's why I follow all the different, follow them all and try to learn about the other skills they have. Like Adam and I were discussing a synastry chart, where if you're trying to put two people together, there's different kinds of charts you can draw where you put their planets together and you can compare and contrast and say, it's kind of like the old ladies' home journal, "Can this marriage be saved? Is this even worth going into?" And it's not just romance. It can be business. It can be, why is my kid making me crazy right now? Because they do that too. I think that it's important for us to try and keep our mind open, because I know when I mention astrology to my friends, they go, "No, if you just know a few places, just look at a few spots on your chart, get a chart done by someone, have them tell you these are key points on your chart. We all have them. Just like we all have the things we don't want to know about. There's a few key points that trigger things." And Adam does that. Other astrologers do that. I would encourage you to do that, because I think it'll make your life richer in the end. And that's what we're all here about, trying to make ourselves understand life and our position in the planet a little more. Do you have anything to say in closing, Adam?
Wonderful explanation, and yeah, thanks so much for having me on. And yeah, it's always great talking astrology. And
yeah, we'll have you back when we're waiting for the next bunch of planets to go. It's not anorexic. It's whatever that other word is. The last three.
Anoretic.
Anoretic. I always think of anorexic, and no, they're not starving. I don't understand. Anyway, you have a good day, and we'll look forward to seeing you again. And I look forward to seeing people on my channel. And go to Adam's channel and subscribe, and push the button to be notified. And if you haven't been over, if you somehow wandered onto my channel and you don't know how, go below, subscribe, and then you'll even be more confused as you watch more shows. But anyway, have a good day. Bye-bye.